I'm delighted to be in Jersey for the first time and to finally meet all of you. I thank you all for being here as I present some of the visionary programs being pursued under the New Philippines campaign. Bear with me. Bagong Pilipinas, or New Philippines, is the overarching theme of President Marcos Jr.'s brand of governance. It calls for less debate and delay and more speed through cooperation for deep transformation, not off, but within already standing sectors of society and government. Not confrontation, but persuasion. No structures will change, but all will perform. Finally energized to promote the state's commitment to attain comprehensive, hopefully more inclusive policy reforms to bring about a fuller economic recovery that fulfills the Philippine potential. That potential is big. Democracy should be less about talking and more about getting the things too long talked about finally done, for the benefit of and with the participation of all meant to benefit. The aim is an upper middle income country. Modest, you may say, but achievable, I'd say. No more excuses for trial and error. Work got started, mistakes were made, but they're now corrected. This administration will finally get it all done in 4 years. Government will work tirelessly for a prosperous, resilient, and inclusive Philippines, where none, or to be realistic, far fewer, will be left behind, even as the population keeps growing. But all should experience a better life than hitherto. In his inaugural, the President said, with every difficult decision that I must make, I will keep foremost in my heart and in my mind the debt of gratitude I owe for the honor and responsibility that you have conferred on me. That and the fact that it was his father, and that old, who first put the Philippines firmly on the path of modern economic progress and finally on the long, rocky road of post-war recovery, which just had gone on too long. Bagong Pilipinas campaign revolves around two themes, economic growth and social development. I will share what that means concretely through specific programs and particular projects implemented already in the pipeline. The aim is to bring the Philippine economy to an even better place, and it was in a better place than it was before the COVID-19 pandemic. The Philippine Development Plan of 2023-28 focuses on reinvigorated job creation and accelerated poverty reduction by steering the economy back to high growth before the pandemic. So it's not a dream. We had already achieved high growth before the pandemic. Now we have to get it back again, in light of even better opportunities that the pandemic ironically revealed. At a conference I attended, the prestigious Asia House Annual Outlook 2024 set apart the Philippines as one of the world's fastest growing economies, with a deep drop in unemployment and underemployment, and slowing down inflation. Infrastructure remains the priority that Marcos Sr. made it, despite a growing modern Philippine economy with clear arteries for smart decisions and adequate funding for the oxygen of exertion by a smarter, younger body politic. In that respect, this government has continued President Duterte's infrastructure plan with its own Build Better More, or BBM program, and yet keeps spending at 5 to 6% of GDP. There are now 194 high-impact infrastructure flagship projects worth 8.3 trillion pesos. That's a modest sum when you think of it. Reform legislation will set up green lanes to speed up key investments, such as digitizing government services, to skip delay and excuses and quicken delivery. With an expanding and diversified Philippine export performance, the government launched the Philippine Export Development Plan 2023 to harmonize stakeholders' priorities toward better quality export products. Despite taking the hardest hit in the pandemic, and perhaps because of it, the tourism sectors show the strongest promise of recovery, change for the better, and more gains. And for that, I'm going to have to ask you to help. We have a program in the Secretary of Tourism which she initiated called Visitor, Be My Guest campaign, as well as Visit Friends and Relatives. The best way to spread tourism for the Philippines is word of mouth, because you've been there, and I'm surprised at how much we have progressed. Universal healthcare is a pressing imperative that we have long talked about. And government today is dead set on providing affordable and quality universal health care to all who need it. As a congressman, I was myself trying to push for an NHS. And I think I understand. I'm glad I was here, because if I ever get a chance to address Congress again, I'll explain why the NHS, I know there are complaints, took off here. It took off here because it came right after the war, which had leveled everyone, aristocrats, commoners, everyone was the same. Everyone was in need. So when I tried to launch the NHS in the Philippines, I described the NHS program, and the first thing my friends in Congress said, what if the Filipinos abuse? I said, boy, that's a great start. We haven't even implemented it, and you're already looking for abuses. And apparently that did not happen in the United Kingdom, because everyone really, really needed help after the war. And perhaps with that kind of attitude, we might be able to get something like that. The welfare of our country's healthcare workers, home and abroad, remains a top priority. The DOH was instructed to continue to provide more benefits and commensurate compensation for healthcare workers such as caregivers, nurses, and doctors. The government will try to match at home what is offered our healthcare workers abroad, especially Filipino nurses, who have brought more honor and prestige to the Philippines and the UK and the US than any other sector we can think of. I say this because I myself fought for the deployment of Filipino nurses during the pandemic. My colleagues in the cabinet said, no, we're going to ban deployment. So I said, oh, this is just between friends anyways, I can tell you exactly how I spoke. And I said, why? And the guy in front of me in the cabinet beside the president said, what if I get sick? So I said, well, I hope you don't recover. Because who are you to tell anyone to stay behind when there's some place better for them to earn? A better life out there. And then I reminded them all that in the crafting of the 1987 Constitution, we threw in the provision on, I got it from John Locke, which is the right to vote with your feet, which he said is the first right of every Englishman. To get out and his country won't treat him well. And if you try to stop the deployment of nurses, somebody's going to go to the Supreme Court and enforce that. So I think we're pretty much safe in that regard. Keeping peace and order, of course, is critical. The only progress, no beneficial progress is possible without peace and order. Public safety requires upgrading police capabilities with the right tools, implementing peace agreements with verified insurgent groups and not criminal gangs, all in a way that improves the lives of disaffected communities. Above all, it demands all-out support for the armed forces of the Philippines. Arma Virum Kano. I think all of them took Latin, and that's virtue of arms and the men they speak. If we are serious about keeping our people safe and our country free. Some think we are a small country. We are not. We are one that is big with a geography that describes key routes of trade and security in 1/3 of the world. We fall, 1/3 of the world falls with us. That's how big we are. Environmental protection, of course, and energy efficiency are tandem. The Philippines aims to meet the target of 35% renewable energy in the short term. On the international stage, we continue to conduct an independent foreign policy. The usual slogan is, friends to all, enemies to none. But I pointed out to the government, Friends to all, enemies to none, I believe is something that one of the Latin writers laughed at. A friend to all and an enemy to none is a useless person. I prefer to say friend to friends, enemy to enemies, and a worse enemy to a false friend. As I put it in my watch as foreign secretary. We shall strengthen partnerships with neighbors in Southeast Asia, while continuing to maintain a strong relationship with our only military defense ally, the United States. China remains one of our most important bilateral partners. They are the biggest trading bloc we have. On the other hand, they are also the biggest trading bloc of all of Southeast Asia, India, the Middle East, Africa, the world. So, but we have to deal with them because they are intruding into our territory. Some people would say, come on, it's just coral, it's just water. There's something about Filipinos, though, as I warned every government. In the beginning, we all made fun of this coral and water. But over time, it became part of what we felt was ours. And I warned them all, give up one drop of water, one grain of sand, and the government will not last. Just the Filipino thing. Either you have honor or you don't. If you don't have honor, then not have. That's really how it is. And as you know, we went to the court in the United Nations and won the arbitral award. So it is ours. And the funny thing about it is that the arbitral award, you should know this because it's peculiar, was possible to file that case because China invented the UNCLOS, the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. The US was with them, pushing for that, but the United States has a tradition of never signing an international treaty. It's fair, because George Washington was the one who told them not to. He's the father of his country. So China went ahead. And finally, with the UNCLOS, we have 200 nautical miles of water. That's ours as an economic zone. And who's the first to violate it? China. And I would go to China and say, Jesus, why did you give it to us and then take it away? I mean, maybe that's what you would have thought about it. But the reason they did it actually was because they have a large coastline, 200 nautical miles around China. It's huge. But unfortunately, those waters are not critical. They can just as easily be defended from land as they can with the sea, on the sea. Anyway, that's all. That's all. I'm sure you'll be hearing about this as we continue to face off with China. And the last time I actually went to the West Philippine Sea to confront the Chinese vessels, and that went well. The boat went through. So for the relief of the warship that we grounded there. Bagong Pilipinas recognizes and values the dedication and hard work put in by you, our kababayans overseas. I've always said my role as ambassador is first and foremost to look after the Filipinos under my jurisdiction, including you all here in Jersey. You're our strength, a soft and always dependable power, the reason why I work here. The expense of a foreign embassy is justified mainly by its protection of its nationals abroad. To that end, the outstanding Migrant Workers Office in London has worked tirelessly for the protection of OFW rights and the promotion of their welfare, including bringing their families back home. In the pandemic, we brought home 500,000 Filipinos. No questions asked. That's the one thing we do. We can't always help you have a better life, but we will always be there to take you home. It's better for you to come home in your own opinion. We won't ask you, but we will be there. We have never failed a single repatriation. If there is one key message to take with you today, it is that government officials and personnel here and at home should serve the people and not the other way around. They are the public, and we are the public servants. Thank you very much. Before I close, I would like to thank the officials of Jersey for the warm welcome and hospitality accorded to me, my wife Louie, and the rest of my delegation. and for this special opportunity to visit you and meet all of you tonight. As we say in the Philippines, maraming salamat po at mabuhay. Thank you.